So everybody is talking about flowers, dried flowers, live flowers. They want to know how to put them in a nail. And of course, one of my favorite things is figuring out all the how-tos, all the what not to do's, how to put anything and everything in a nail safely. Safely is important. It was really funny because when the trend kind of first started, I've had people like sending me pictures to my inbox going like, okay, they turned brown. It's been like 2 days. What's going on? And I mean, the short of it is that they're oxidizing. If you take a fresh flower and pluck it right out of your garden, it's moist. It's covered in bacteria. Bugs have been crawling on it. So you don't want to put that in a nail because now you've got this perfect little breeding ground. I mean, and I've had a few people go, well, no, it's encapsulated. It doesn't have air. Therefore, there's no way for it to rot, basically. I said, well, no, there's enough oxygen in there when you encapsulate something live. There's just enough that the bacteria have enough to grow and proliferate and do their bacteria thing and rot your flowers. So if you think of it, it's very similar to Pseudomonas when you have Pseudomonas happening. I mean, it's encapsulated bacteria that's eating away at the nail. It's got that organic material and just enough of what it needs to proliferate and grow and turn the nail green. So basically that's the same thing that's happening when you take a fresh flower out of a garden and just pluck it, and just put it straight into the nail right away. Sure, it's nice and beautiful and fresh and vibrant, but it's gonna rot. That's what the brown is. It's oxidizing, it's rotting, so don't do that. You can take a fresh flower. I've got a bunch right here that I've just plucked from my garden. Well, my flower pots that my sister-in-law gave me. They came from the Art of Flowers. They're beautiful. Thank you, Kelly. And so I can easily put these into a nail, no problem. But I want to make sure that I'm going to prep them first. So when you think of something organic and you want to dry it and you want to make it so that it's safe to go in a nail, you're going to follow the same protocols as you would when you're drying anything else organic. And so I'm thinking in terms of like food. What do we do when we're trying to preserve food? We dry it, we pickle it, we preserve it with salt. We do all those sorts of things. And so you want to take away the moisture and the bacteria one way or another. So what we can do is, of course, and my go-to way is, I mean, you can order dried flowers for sure, but I mean, I've got these, why not? It's free, right? So take some isopropyl alcohol. Now I just use straight for flowers. I prefer the 99, just straight on 99%. And I want 99% because if you choose a 70%, 30% of that is still water. So something that is super, super, super high concentrate, 99 is my preferred, so that means there's only 1% water in there. So you're gonna dry them out quite nicely. You can also use kosher salt. Epsom salts work really great. It's a bit of a longer method, so I mean, if you've got time, for sure. I prefer the alcohol, and we'll get into that. Drying them flat. I've got these guys back here, smushed underneath my very heavy, fully loaded Clear Jelly Stamper book onto either paper towel or soaker pad, whatever. And so that makes them nice and flat too, but they have to be perfectly dry. Now when I do this method, I tend to spray them or dip them in alcohol first. Germaphobe, neurotic, I don't want to take any chances putting anything weird or creepy into my client's nail. I don't want them coming back and saying, hey, what's going on? My flower's toast. So that's a method you can use too, but they have to be super, super, super dry. So that does take a little bit of time as well. If I need them same day, this is going to be my go-to method, 1000% when I'm using the isopropyl alcohol. And just in a little dish, put a little lid on there. It's going to evaporate, of course. So if I do it this way, they're going to be safe. All right, so this little guy, I did about 10 minutes ago. Some tweezers and just an orange wood stick. So he's quite delicate. These tweezers are great too. Plunk him right there. Oh my goodness. So yeah, very, very, very delicate. So you really have to handle with care. So this one I've taken and I've dipped it into the pot. Now they've got all sorts of crazy things on there. I mean, this little guy, he's super cute, but it's definitely not flat, right? So if I pluck it off, I just want basically the petals and the flowers. So I'm gonna take my cute little pink scissors and very carefully, sometimes these guys will fall apart if you cut them in the wrong spot, but there's really not a lot that you can't use. So this one here, I probably don't even want this front part, so I'm going to take that off of there too. Or maybe open it up even. I'm going to open it up. So I'm going to dip it in. I've cut it. I'm going to throw it into my alcohol. How long? Fully submerged. A few minutes. I mean, really, just enough for it to really get a good soak in there. We'll grab this guy. So you could push it down to the paper towel. And then I would put a book on that to make it flat, or my clear jelly stamper case, or whatever the case might be. But yeah, if you over soak them, they will become brittle. Like this guy was definitely in there too long. And they just crumble, right? So not too long, a few minutes. 10 is obviously too much. But I got putzing around. Now the one thing I do like, I prefer to often use the white flowers. And really, if I just have the white ones done and dried, I can make them any color I wish, which is really cool. So this guy right here, I don't know if, again, if you can see him, he's kind of blended on the paper towel there. Okay, again, very, very delicate. Once they are fully dried, they're a little bit easier to work with for sure. Okay, so now if I want to make it whatever color, because all the bright, vibrant colors are in right now, India ink. So this is the new NT stuff that was just released, and I was like, oh, perfect, because I love using the India ink to make beautiful color combinations, and you don't need a ton. Now I'm making my flower whatever color combo my little heart desires. Again, gentle, gentle. And it's soaking in. Very lightly touching it. Now if I want to do a two-tone flower, like I've left a couple of the little spots there, easy peasy. Where's that vibrant pink? So now I've got purple, add a little bit of pink. So you're essentially doing like the India ink watercolor flower look onto a real flower. So you're still going to get that interesting depth and dimension, and you can just kind of play around with it and make whatever pattern you want on there. Soft pink, you can make it kind of stippled and dotted. But that's basically the gist of it. I mean, if you want to dry your flower and preserve it, don't go in fresh. Cannot stress enough. I'll often use, let's see, it's stuck onto the back of my book here. Different leaves from different types of plants. Like this one's from a completely different plant. It was a little tiny, like the flower itself is so tiny that it's really almost kind of pointless to use. It does look kind of cute, I suppose. Maybe has some like background fluff, but like this little guy, maybe, maybe not. Kind of cute. This one, it's got the little stamen in there. But I like the leaf, so you can go into your nail and then do the, like maybe a half of this big flower in there, cut it with your scissors, and then go in and put some leaves in there, nice and flat and flush. I mean, you could even take the broken petals, why not? But if you see this guy here, it was naturally blue, but now the blue is kind of leaching out. Oh, and one thing that I need to mention with this, if you're doing this technique, using the India ink with your flower, it works really well with encapsulated gel. Totally works with acrylic powder as well. So if you're an acrylic tech, you can use this, but just make sure that your bead is not really, really, really wet. A super wet bead, and it's totally gonna leak and leach, and the color's gonna bleed and make a big mess everywhere. No, so if you're putting your flowers into a book, they won't discolor because you're drying them out. So that's a whole slow process. It's just when you trap the moisture. So when the moisture is trapped anywhere, so once you encapsulate it before it's dry, it will absolutely rot. India ink is Nail Techniques, so www.nailtechniques.com, I think. I'm really bad with web addresses, but Nail Techniques, you find them online. They have a huge box. It was a big box of 12 assorted for, it was this guy right here, for $89.95 plus tax, of course. I quite enjoy them. They're beautiful colors. There's, yeah, 12, and then you get a mixing liquid as well. And well, yeah, 12 including the mixing liquid, so that's quite great. And they ship like pretty much everywhere, I think. I don't know. So yeah, there's those guys there. So yeah, make sure if you're going to use this with acrylic, this method, make sure that your bead is really, really, really like not super wet, because you're going to make a mess. I was playing around with acrylic powder in this, and I feel like whatever's in the monomer almost seems to work the same as the whole alcohol idea. It seems to have anyways. I haven't, maybe not all monomers, but the one that I do have, it worked really well and nothing discolored. I don't know where I put those swatches, but I've been playing around with this for quite some time, and the discoloration didn't happen. It seems like it's more prone to happen if you're using it with gel and encapsulating a wet, moist, fresh from the garden flower into gel, because it's perfectly trapped, and of course there's nothing liquidy that's going to kill the bacteria. So totally shameless plug. I'm also teaching this in great detail on how to put it in effectively at Nail Masters Canada. If you're not familiar with Nail Masters, it is a nail tech event in Canada, in Saskatoon. It's happening this September, I believe the 18th to the 21st, I want to say. But yeah, I've got classes the 18th, 19th, 20th, yes, and then the 21st would be the main event in Saskatoon. So Nail Masters Canada class, like to register, registration opened up last night at 7 o'clock, and I've still got some room in my classes. I'm doing social media, encapsulated. This would be included with that. Anything like basically an ultimate encapsulation course. Client management with advanced fills at the same time. I'm doing Clear Jelly Stamper educator training. I think I've covered them all. Maybe. I don't know. I have 6 classes anyways, and there's a bunch of amazing educators there, so you're going to find a lot of things to help up your nail game. So check that out. Nail Masters Canada is the website for that, or just find the group on on Facebook. I don't think there are any. So how much do I charge for a client? Then gems. Well, it really depends on the gems, right? And so I think how much I charge per client. So when I do encapsulated flowers like this, I start at $10 per nail. And then I add, well, the crystals, I will add 50 cents per stone. If they're just the plain flat backs, if I'm doing a cluster or anything, I probably wouldn't. I tend to take these guys and I mix them with a little bit of glitter in the background. I don't put a lot of crystals on these particular ones. I will probably pick another nail to put gems onto, because I want the attention to be drawn to the flower and not anything else. So a little bit of glitter in the background just to kind of camouflage. I tend to go in with a thin layer of repairs to hide the natural nail. Milk bath, if you want milk bath, then do a thin layer of Wish or like a milky white to hide the natural nail, and then kind of pull over. But again, that's one of the things I'm going to be teaching at Nail Masters Canada. Milk bath, encapsulated flowers, encapsulated anything you can think of. So like my classes are student led, so if you're like, hey, I want to learn how to put this in a nail, let me know and I will include that in the class. So yeah. And so if anybody has any more questions, you can totally hit me up. I'm gonna save this and keep it on my profile, so if you have missed it or if you have any other questions, I can definitely pop on and go live any other time for sure. But yeah, make sure that they're clean and dehydrated, a couple of minutes in a 99% alcohol bath, or dry them out under a book. Both methods, like right here, totally effective. You can totally soak them in salt, do like it's another drying method, preservation method. Not my favorite method, but I mean, if that's all you've got, why not? Takes a little bit longer. This is just within a few minutes. So if my client comes in and she's like, hey, I need flowers in my nail, I want this flower, I can go pluck some, throw it in, take it out, dry it out, make it whatever color I want, and then we're good to go. So it's just a very important step that if you miss it, things are gonna go south. So if I still want to, like, the color is still vibrant, like if we look at this rich blue that I just had, the color is still perfect. It hasn't done anything at all, but just be very careful and delicate. Flatten it out, put a book on it to make it nice and, flat and perfect. And then, yeah, once they have dried, they're definitely a little bit more, like this guy is a little bit more resilient and a little bit easier to work with. Now this one's already they're so delicate when they're first out of the alcohol that you really have to handle them with kid hands. So, oh, hi Judy. So any other questions, like I said, feel free to hit me up, but that's basically in a nutshell what we do with flowers if we want to preserve them and put them in our nail and not have them rot. So cool. Bye guys, have a fabulous Sunday.